Hi everybody, I'm Jared Pike. This is Shell Point Today for Monday, May 20th. On today's show, Peter Dice invites you to an event where all the final details of the Aquatic Center will be revealed. Adrian Kerr tells us about his topic for tomorrow's lecture, The Country of Jordan. And we'll visit the Arbor, where everyone was in their best wedding attire at a recent themed lunch event. But first, we want to let you know that there is still room on Wednesday's trip to the Naples YMCA, where they have a saline-filtered swimming pool. Saline-treated pools are the newest, safest way of maintaining swimming pools. It's not salt water, but it's a less harsh chemical that is safe and doesn't have that unpleasant smell. For our new Aquatic Center, Shell Point residents encouraged us to make the pools saline-filtered. So how can you experience the difference? Well, how about a trip to a saline-filtered pool? Resort Services is sponsoring a trip to the YMCA in Naples, where you can jump right in to their saline-filtered pool and experience it for yourself. Go swimming, floating, or just hang out poolside. And on the way home, they're even stopping for Royal Scoop ice cream. Sign up for the trip to the Naples YMCA Saline Pool, happening this Wednesday, with court pickup starting at 12 noon. Call the Island Service Desk at 454-2282 or the Woodland Service Desk at 454-2054. Well, we're putting the final touches on the plans for the new Aquatic Center, and you can still be very much involved. President Peter Dice is giving a special presentation to all residents coming up on June 3rd to report on the fundraising success and what the plans are for construction. Mr. Dice offers this invitation.
Hello friends, my name is Peter Dice, President of Shell Point. I'm here today to bring you some information that we hope will be helpful to you related to the Aquatic Center that you heard so much about in the last 8 or 9 months. We have been privileged to receive a lot of input and suggestions by our residents relative to the redesign and the new appointments to that pool as we look at refurbishing it after over 40-some years of service. We have taken the input from many of our residents who use the pool, who are interested in aquatic health, and we have pursued the plans and have placed them with the county, and now we're soon to have permits. We are in a position where we have bids in hand. We have been working with your help on a fundraising program to reach the goal that we feel we need to have in order to pay for the cost of this exciting new addition that will benefit so many people at Shell Point as they look at their own personal health. We're looking forward to sharing some of that information, and I will be presenting this package of information with a whole lot more detail at a meeting that's scheduled for June the 3rd in the Village Church at 2:45 p.m. and hope that you'll be there. It'll be our opportunity to share with you exactly where we stand, what the options are, the challenges that we have ahead of us, and the action that we would hope to take in the near future. Monday, June the 3rd at 2:45 p.m. at the Village Church. I hope you will come and be a part of that time together, and hope it will also provide for you the information and the insights that will be helpful to you and your interest, and that will give you a little bit more information about the exciting things that happen at Shell Point. I look forward to seeing you then. Monday, June the 3rd at 2:45 p.m. in the Village Church.
Coming up today on the Academy calendar, it's time to strap your brain on, folks, because Don Stainhook is back with the 8th installment of his Academy series, Beautiful Science. In this lecture, Don will discuss how the networks of proteins in our cells are just like the social networks found on the internet. Intrigued? Well, find out more at Beautiful Science 8, happening today at 1 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. All are welcome. And then, tomorrow, Adrian Kerr begins a new series of historical lectures about the Middle East. Tomorrow's session focuses on Petra, the incredible city carved out of cliffs in the country of Jordan. Find out more at an Academy class tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. Terry Colath has this preview.
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Colath, and I'm here today with Professor Adrian Kerr. and we're going to talk about a trip through the Middle East that he's going to take us on this summer in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. Professor Kerr, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here as ever, Terry.
And we're starting with Jordan. Jordan's Petra, rose red city, half as old as time, and Aqaba. This sounds very romantic and beautiful.
It is probably one of the most romantic scenes that I have visited. I've been a few times now, and I just came back, as you know, from 3 weeks in the Middle East, and I went out to Petra again, and it's just as beautiful as ever. Of course, it's famous because of its movie stardom with Indiana Jones, and the Last Crusade was filmed outside the main tomb, which is called El Khazni. They thought it was a treasury. But the whole history of that valley is fascinating. The period is just early Roman, so say 200 BC, and these Arab traders, the Nabateans are called, had moved out of the Saudi Arabia peninsula, moved northwards, and in fact had challenged Damascus. And had grown in a trading empire around about 200 to 150 BC, and were very successful, very prosperous, and they control the trade routes from the south to the north through the desert. Now, we may say today, well, not much trade south to north, but in those days, if you were moving luxury goods, incense particularly, frankincense and myrrh, which was grown in the southern peninsula in Oman, we'll talk about that later, the main route out of Oman was through Nabatean-held lands, and they charged a tariff, and they gave you protection. You could stay in their towns, and you could travel all the way to Damascus. And they thrived, and they began to invest in their capital city, which was Petra. And one by one, they constructed beautiful rock-cut tombs. So they are actually cut into the pinky red sandstone, and some of them are 70, 80 feet high. And you approach the whole series of tombs through a very narrow gulf, which is only about 5 people wide. And it's overhung with these twisted, multicolored sandstone reliefs, which are beautiful. And then suddenly it opens out into a vista showing El Khazni, the treasury. And that view is memorable. It's almost like the Taj Mahal. It's something you'll never forget.
Interesting. So, as always, you start us very early with history, and we have the delightful opportunity to hear from you just coming back and seeing it all again. What is it like? You've seen it many times. What is it like to go back and see these historical places that have been here half as old as time, and to walk in 2013?
Well, Petra is one of those cities which was lost. The Nabateans prospered, and then the Romans didn't like how successful they were, and about 180 AD they conquered the Petra lands, and from then onwards Petra went into decline. No more tombs were built. There were a few Roman tombs around 100, 150, but basically it went into decline. And then the earthquakes savaged it. There were 2 major earthquakes, and the people who lived in Petra, who were probably 20,000 people, gradually left because their livelihood had gone, their buildings had gone, only the tombs were left. So it became a ghost town. And it fell into that period of time in the Middle Ages where people weren't traveling. It was a dangerous place to go to. The local Bedouins who had moved in partly were very aggressive. They didn't like foreigners, certainly didn't like Westerners. And so it became lost. And it's only when Jean-Louis Burckhardt, around 1812, 1815, was a great Arabist, and he'd gone to Damascus to learn Arabic. He changed his name to an Arabic name. He was a Swiss national, but he'd studied in England. He decided he was going to go down to Mecca, first Westerner to go to Mecca. And on his way, he passed through Petra, and he rediscovered Petra. And from then onwards, from the mid-19th century, it became a glamorous, fascinating place to visit. And it's on the protected areas, of course, and all the presidents and royal families visit. And I was there about a week after President Obama was there, and I wish I was with him, because when he went, the whole place was shut down. There were about 3 or 4 security. I've got a photograph of him standing outside the El Khazni, and there are 3 or 4 security folk and nobody else.
Oh my God.
When I went, there were about 250 people, and you couldn't see the bottom edge of the temple, the tomb, because of tourists. And tourists are still thriving. It's the biggest tourist center in Jordan. More people go there. And the issue is an ecological one. As you get more and more busloads of tourists using diesel fumes, then you get crowding, you get wear and tear on the roadways, and you get pollution, people dropping bottles of water bottles all over the place, and litter, and camels and horses, and there's a balance. What's the right amount? And Egypt's had this issue recently, and they've limited the number of people who enter the Great Pyramid to 150 a day. And it wouldn't be too surprising if there's a restriction on how many people can actually visit Petra in the near future.
Well, we're glad that we're going to be able to hear all about it, and thank you so much. If you would like to hear more about Jordan's Petra, join Professor Adrian Kerr tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the Grand Cypress Room. All are welcome, but you must register at either service desk.
If you've ever been to a party organized by Inga Bredahl, then you know this. The girl doesn't do anything halfway. Case in point, last week she organized a wedding-themed lunch at the Arbor, complete with decorations, a bridal fashion show, and of course, a cake. Let's hear more about it.
Today at the Arbor, we invited all the residents of the Springs, the Arbor, and of Kings Crown to come and enjoy not only a spring luncheon, but also we wanted to have something that the residents experienced or attended is a wedding. So we had residents submit some of their pictures of when they got married. This is Reverend Coase and his wife. This is Ellen Graham, who got married in Canada. And she said she wore beautiful old lace from Ireland. Jane Williams, she and her husband were both in the service. So they both had their I believe it's their Navy outfits on. And so she said they got married where they were stationed. So I thought that was interesting. If you look, there's large wedding groups here. There's small ones. Look at this large one over here. Look how big this wedding party was. And another thing that I thought was interesting, if you look at some of these pictures, look at how big the trains were back then. They were beautiful. We also had some beautiful employees. They got to do a model for us. So we had bridesmaids, we had a groom, and we also had a bride. And this is a beautiful bride right over here. This is Christina. Doesn't she look gorgeous? We found this beautiful dress at the thrift store. It was up in the window, and we said, oh my gosh, this is perfect. So we said, well, let's borrow it. So they let us borrow it for the day. And we said, now we got to find someone who's teensy tiny. Well, guess what? This was perfect. Doesn't she look beautiful?
I work here as a hospitality care assistant in the Arbor, and I love my job here. The residents, they're so nice. Oh yeah, they love it, they said. So I said, no, this is my second time of wedding day. I'm married for 3 years, but I'm still enjoying it right now.
I was going to have Skylar, one of our activity leaders who's single, and I said, Skylar, could you wear one of the other wedding dresses? And she said, yeah, sure. Well, then a resident told her, oh, no, you can't. It's bad luck if you wear a wedding dress and you're not married yet. So she said, Inga, I'm not wearing it. So I was like, oh, darn it. But I kind of understand. I'm a little bit like that, too. So she wore a beautiful bridesmaid dress. So all the residents enjoyed seeing her, and we've got the beautiful veil in the back and everything. So to see the smile on the residents' faces when they saw this gown was just wonderful. And I think brought back a lot of memories for them, and listening to their stories. And one of the things we really had fun about was we asked, do you know what the average cost of a wedding in 1940 cost? The average was $100. Can you believe it? So then we said, how about in 2012? $28,000 is the average wedding. So I told the residents, that is when I'm very happy I only have sons. That was the funniest thing. When I went over to Publix to borrow cakes, she said, you've got to have this cake. And if you look at the cake, what's so fun about it is it's a bride, and she's grabbing the groom saying, get back here. And so that was what was so fun, because I think many times the groom maybe isn't too sure, and that bride's like, no, get back here. We've had a wonderful day, bringing back memories, enjoying spring, and looking forward to weddings. So it was a wonderful time here at the Arbor.
Coming up, it's time to hear about this week's Channel 13 radio program, Listening to the Words.
In this week's Listening to the Words program, a captive girl's imagination trumps her evil father. A handicapped boy falls for the runt of newborn puppies. Slurpee dog kisses are not only safe, but also good for you. If keeping up with home improvement guru Bob Vila leaves you behind, get some laughs from someone like you. Being blind does not keep some people from seeing clearly. I'm your reader host, David Howenstein, inviting you to listen to those and more on Shell Point's Channel 13 every hour of every day this week on Listening to the Words.
Welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley, and I'm going to go over the offerings we have here at Shell Point today. We're going to start out at 9 o'clock. We'll have the men's match play tennis going on down at the Woodlands tennis courts. 9:15 is the time for billiards to be played at the Resident Activities Center. Also at 9:15 we have pottery with instruction available in the pottery studio. And then we have a final 9:15 activity, virtual bowling, at the Resident Activities Center. At 10:30, the Disciple Men's Bible Study Group will be gathering in the game room at the Woodlands. And 10:45, down to the tunnel for table tennis. That'll be in the Tarpon Room. 11:30, we have a Health Connections class. This is specifics in strength training. That'll be in the Health Club. It's currently full. We're going to continue on with the activities to 12 o'clock, beginning our afternoon with Mahjong in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. At 1:15, we have Scrabble being played at the Library Lounge. Also at 1:15, table tennis is back in the Tarpon Room in the tunnel. At 1:45, there's a Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training, Level 1 in the Health Club, and that's currently full. Now 2 o'clock, that's the time for the Beady-Eyed Bead Club to be in the Oak Room of the Woodlands. And another Health Connections class at 3 o'clock, Pilates Stretch, that will be in the Health Club. And at 4:30, we have a dinner outing going to Chuck's Last Stop out on Fort Myers Beach. The Island Court pickups begin at 4:30, 4:40 for the Woodlands, and at 4:50 if you live in Eagles Preserve. Also this evening we have a 6:30 duplicate bridge game at the game room of the Woodlands. And then we round out our evening with a 7 o'clock square dancing down at the Health Club. Thanks for joining me here today, and we'll see you back here for Tuesday's lineup.
Hello everyone, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Monday. At 10:15, the Anatomy of Words continues in the Buttonwood Room of the Woodlands, and they welcome all. At 1 o'clock, Hallmark Cards on a Macintosh will be continuing in the Computer Center at the Woodlands. And at 1 o'clock, Beautiful Science 8 will be taking place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. All are welcome, but please sign up at either service desk. Tomorrow we have a new class from Professor Adrian Kerr, Jordan's Petra, Rose Red City, half as old as time, and Aquaba. Then we also have the other Apple stores on the iPad with Bruce Findlay of Sundial.
Menus for Monday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is rotisserie chicken with baked beans and asparagus. The dinner special is home cooking night for $9.95, and the soup of the day is split pea. In the Island Cafe for lunch, enjoy an Alpine chicken sandwich with a side salad for $6.95. The dinner special is grilled tilapia with lemon basil sauce over pasta and mixed vegetables for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Mondays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here with Nita DeWeese, and Nita is involved with the church library. And you've been doing this for quite some time, I understand.
Right, several years.
That's right. And we've got a bunch of books spread out in front of us, and obviously that you have some things that you would love to share with us, because summer's a great time to do some reading, isn't it?
Anytime's a great time.
Yeah, so tell us some of the opportunities that we have this summer to connect with the church library. library?
Well, we have just received 103 new items.
Oh, my.
And I thought maybe everybody would like to hear about them.
Absolutely.
Fiction, of course, is our biggest mover. Karen Kingsbury, Beverly Lewis, and Wanda Brunstetter are their constant favorites.
Yeah.
But we just received 15 new novels by B.J. Hoff, who is, she writes inspirational fiction and has many, many series.
Okay.
And my volunteer, Marge Schulke, keeps up with all these series so that as new books come out in a series, she makes sure we get them.
Absolutely.
Because people can't stand to only read 2 if there's 4. So, and if you're interested in something a little meatier, this is the book I would recommend. And the Countdown, Damascus Countdown, is the latest.
Yeah.
And he is a very prophetic writer, excellent writer. Several of our Shell Point people have gone over to Sanibel Island to hear him speak.
Right, yeah.
And when you get done reading what he's writing, it's usually on the news. I mean, he is that up to date.
Yeah. This is Joel Rosenberg.
Joel Rosenberg,
Absolutely,
and he is, not only does he do that prophetically, but he is an excellent writer in itself.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just never can put his stuff down. We have received 3 new biographies, Martin Luther and St. Augustine. And this book called Burnt Alive is a story about Graham Staines and his 2 sons who were ambushed by a frenzied mob in India.
Oh, my, yes, that's right. I remember that story.
Right. Yeah. So those have just come in.
Extraordinary. Yeah.
And we also, of course, accept donations and have recently received a whole set, 16 of these books, and they're for gals 9 to 12, and they cover the 17th to the 20th centuries. And they are written, of course, for that age group, but giving them some history as well as Christianity.
Fantastic. So these are some books that perhaps grandparents could share with their grandchildren.
Right. I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that the grandkids would come this summer.
Absolutely. I'm sure they will.
Yeah. And nonfiction, now I have not read all these. I can't possibly read all we have. But nonfiction, this one looked very good to me. It's called The 180-Degree Christian, and it's by Carter Collin, who is a senior pastor at the Times Square Church.
Oh, okay.
And he feels we have some very difficult days coming.
Oh, interesting.
And another nonfiction is Grieving, which is here.
Okay.
My Pilgrimage of Love by Gary Crawford, who's a senior pastor of the West Side Baptist Church in Gainesville, Florida. And Mike Huckabee has a little blurb about him, and he says, this is not your ordinary how to deal with grief book.
Yeah.
It's immensely personal and descriptive.
How about that?
And then if you feel that true spirituality has been corrupted by the culture and religion, then you will like to read Selling Water by the River. And Rob Bell, just another author, says it's really profound, really helpful, and very inspiring.
Interesting. Yeah.
And we also have shelf after shelf of DVDs and CDs, but I didn't, in this order, I don't have any in there, so I didn't bring any of those, but we have a lot of them. And we feel that the library contains over 4,000 items.
That's great.
Stimulating reading, and we have smiling, helpful volunteers.
Indeed.
And we're open 9 to 11 and 1 to 3, 6 days a week. And in addition, we are open on 5 to 7 on Wednesday nights and 4 to 6 on Sunday nights. And of course, Sunday morning from 8:30 until time for the service at 10:15. And that's a really busy time.
I'll bet.
And as a reminder, which I know we've told this before, but as a reminder, you can access the library by going to www.shellpoint.net and then go to library, and there's an area that will show you how to search for a book.
Interesting.
And you can search from home.
How about
and if we have it, it'll be there, but you just won't know whether it's physically in the library or not. But at least we'll have it.
Yeah,
You'll be able to tell that. So I figure everybody can enjoy their air conditioning or their lanai and just have an enjoyable book by their side for the summer.
That's fantastic. You know, one of the greatest thrills that I had just in coming here a few months ago was to see what a wonderful library exists, because I think that's incredibly important for a church and a community to be engaged in reading along these lines. friends, and so we're thrilled that you're involved and you have a bunch of people that are committed to that ministry and committed to that whole operation of the library.
And we get people, not just churchgoers, but Shell Point people and outside Shell Point.
Absolutely.
I mean, as long as you want to put your name down and you can take a look.
That's right. Fantastic.
So.
Yeah. Well, Nita, thanks for being with us today for the Village Church Connections, and we're thanking all of you for paying attention to what a wonderful opportunity this might be for your summer reading pleasure. So thank you once again, and hope to see you soon here at the Village Church.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as we meet 2 new members of our behavioral health team. We'll also visit the Islands Art Studio, where the gallery wall features selections from the garden. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Monday, May 20th. I'm Jared Pike, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.